So now let's talk about the upper limb trauma. So in upper limb trauma, first is clavicle. So we have learned the then first we will learn about the clavicle, then shoulder joint, then arm, humerus, then elbow joint, the radius ulna, then wrist, metacarpal, then pelvis, then hip joint, femur, knee joint, then tibia fibula, then ankle joint, then tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. Okay, so from trauma, first is clavicle. So I have explained to you, anyone can be fractured. So clavicle who could be fractured. So in clavicle, it is the most common bone fracture at the time of birth in newborn. So how will you manage? So we will not manage each patient by just doing operation, we have to first find a ways, can we manage this patient conservatively without going for operative? So in clavicle, you can manage that patient by applying a figure of 8 bandage. I have explained you already what is figure of 8 bandage. So figure of 8 bandage kept both fragment near, and it can go in malunion, but the outcome, the flexion extension at shoulder joint does not hamper. So we will first try to manage that patient by conservatively. If there are some indication, we have to do operative fixation on those patients. So let's assume a patient who came with clavicle fracture associated with wound. Then in that case, you have to manage this patient by operative fixation by nailing or plating. You can see this patient. This is nailing. Nail is inside the bone. You can see this is the plating. Plate is over the bone. Okay. Now there is a patient who has brachial plexus injury. So what is brachial plexus injury? Associated with clavicle fracture. So let's assume this is the right side. This is the lateral. This is the medial fractured bone of clavicle. This is the lateral. This is face. This is clavicle of left side. Let's assume this is the right side of clavicle and it got fractured. And this medial fragment, and this is the lateral fragment. This is the humerus. So medial fragment is impinging the brachial plexus. So you cannot manage this patient conservatively, because if you manage this patient conservatively, patient will have brachial plexus injury for his lifetime. So what will you do? You will open this fracture, reduce it, and apply a plate. So you are applying plate. So the impingement in brachial plexus, because brachial plexus is also going from here, na? So impingement in brachial plexus will got relieved, and patient has recovered the brachial plexus injury. Okay. So in these case, patient open fracture and brachial plexus injury, you have to manage this patient by operative fixation. Now let's assume what is complication of the clavicle fracture. I have explained you malunion and neurovascular injury, like brachial plexus injury, it could be there. Now the shoulder joint, we have learned about the clavicle. Then next bone, near to clavicle is shoulder joint. So let's learn about the shoulder joint. So इस दुनिया में किसी इंसान को सब कुछ नहीं मिलता है. So मैं क्या समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ? Let's assume hip joint and shoulder joint. There are two joints, elbow joint. Let's assume. So you can see in hip joint there is restricted movement. You can't rotate the hip. You can't rotate around the hip joint. You can't rotate your femur, but you can rotate this shoulder joint. You can do abduction. You can do over abduction. You can touch behind also. You can do flexion, extension. You can do all the movements at shoulder joint. Okay, but you can't do very much all the movements in hip joint. So that's why shoulder joint is very mobile joint. And I have explained you कि सबको सब कुछ नहीं मिलता है, because shoulder joint is very mobile joint. So mobility cost came at the cost of stability. So because it is most mobile, so it is very unstable joint. So that's why it is the very most unstable joint of the body. Okay. Now, have you ever imagined that these two arms, why they are not going downward because of gravity? ये तो होना चाहिए ना, ये तो अलग हो जाना चाहिए because of gravity. Have you ever imagined? But it did not. Why? Because there are so many rassis, so many ligaments, so many muscle attachment at the shoulder joint level. This is scapula. This is humerus. Okay. So there are so many muscle attachment here known as rotator cuff. There are 4 muscle in rotator cuff: sits, subscapularis, infraspinatus, teres minor, and supraspinatus. These 4 muscle are attached here. There is a capsule, there is a labrum, glenohumeral ligaments. These kept humerus in place. Okay. So this is known as shoulder joint. Okay. That's why shoulder is not going downward because of gravity, even after gravity. Okay. Now let's assume what is shoulder dislocation. So this is glenoid. This is humerus. See, humerus is inside the glenoid. Okay. So this forms the shoulder joint. Let's assume it got dislocated anteriorly. So this humerus is going inside the this is glenoid, this is humerus, this is going inside it. And let's assume this humerus and rotating inside the glenoid. Let's assume this humerus goes anteriorly. It goes anteriorly. So if it goes anteriorly, this is known as anterior dislocation. And this humerus can go posterior, it is known as posterior. Can go inferior, it is known as inferior dislocation. So now, how will you present the patient? Patient will present like this. Arm, this is the left shoulder dislocation. So patient will present like this. Arm will be in abduction and external rotation. Okay. Now, because shoulder joint, because the humerus is dislocating anteriorly, there is only one nerve here. That is axillary nerve, which is encircling the surgical neck of humerus. Are you getting a point? Let's assume this is humerus. This is humerus and nerve is encircling around the humerus. And if it goes anteriorly, so nerve will get stretched. There is only one nerve which is encircling at the surgical neck, that is axillary nerve. So axillary nerve got injured. That's why it is the most commonly nerve injured. Okay. Now there are various tests. Hamilton ruler test. So because shoulder goes anteriorly, so you can touch. The ruler can be touched the acromion and lateral epicondyle. This is acromion. This is lateral epicondyle. So ruler can touch because shoulder joint goes anteriorly. So the anatomy will distort. Okay. Next is Dugas test. Because ये इसके अंदर है, तो all the movements are smooth. You can do any movement at shoulder joint. Okay. You can touch anywhere. Okay. Now ये इसकी जगह ये थी, अब यहाँ से anteriorly चला गया है. Now ये कहाँ rotate होगा? There is no place to rotate. There is no place for movement. So what will happen? Patient will not able to do any movement because the humerus is not in place. So patient is difficult to touch the opposite joint. This is known as Dugas test. Okay. Next is Calvé test. What is girth is more in affected shoulder? ये था अभी normal, अब ये यहाँ हो गया, आगे आ गया anteriorly. So because the humerus is dislocated anteriorly, so patient, the girth of the shoulder joint is obviously will increase. Okay. Next is Bryant test. Anterior axillary fold is at lower level in the affected side, obviously because it goes anteriorly. So axillary fold will be in lower side of that side, affected side. Okay, this is Bryant test. Now various reduction maneuver. So various reduction maneuver is modified Kocher, that is steam. You have to give traction, then external rotation, then adduction and medial rotation. Next is Stimson technique. Patient is lying prone and hanging the arm. Okay. Hippocrates is placing foot in axilla and use it as a fulcrum. So these are the methods to reduce the shoulder joint. I am not going in detail. Now the complication. So complication is Bankard lesion, that is anteroinferior lesion. Hill-Sachs is posterolateral lesion. So why it is, what is these? So let's assume this is glenoid, this is shoulder joint, this is humerus. Okay. So now shoulder joint is dislocated anteriorly. So humerus goes anterior. So because humerus goes anterior, it is rubbing this glenoid at the anteroinferior level. So because it is rubbing this labrum, it is known as Bankard lesion. Okay. Because it is going anterior. So it is disrupting this labrum here. So this is known as Bankard lesion. It is present at the anteroinferior side. Okay. So reverse Bankard is at posterior-inferior level. Hill-Sachs is posterolateral level. Okay. Now, if you don't want to remember anything, just remember the mnemonic. Abir had cab at Kosi. Abir is AB is for abduction, E is for external rotation, Hamilton rural test, Dugas test, Calvé test, Bryant test. Axillary nerve is the most common nerve injured. Kocher's maneuver, Stimson maneuver, Hippocrates maneuver. Now, what is the most common complication of shoulder dislocation is recurrent shoulder dislocation. How? So because shoulder is dislocated anteriorly, the anteroinferior labrum is disrupted. So that is creating void there. So because abhi kya tha? Glenoid is protecting this humerus. Now there is a defect in anteroinferior part because there is shoulder is dislocated once. So because there is defect in anteroinferior, the patient will likely to again dislocate his shoulder. Okay. That's why complication of shoulder dislocation is recurrent shoulder dislocation. Next is posterior shoulder dislocation. You can see there's a light valve sign and patient, this is the light valve sign. And because in anterior shoulder dislocation, patient will present with you in abduction and external rotation. So to opposite of it, in posterior shoulder dislocation, patient will present with light valve sign or adduction and internal rotation. Inferior dislocation is known as luxio erectica. Next is proximal humerus fracture. You can see this is the proximal humerus and it got fractured. So how will you manage this patient? You will manage the patient by plating, open reduction, internal fixation, plating. The nerve near to it is likely to injured. So it is axillary nerve. Okay. Next is fracture in arm. So this is the humerus. So humerus, shaft humerus. So here is a spiral groove and radial nerve. So radial nerve is passing through the spiral groove, and if it is fractured at this level, so patient will present with radial nerve injury. slab you have to apply it, and there are two ways of fixing it, by putting nail or plate. Next is Holstein-Lewis fracture. So Holstein-Lewis fracture is lower one third of humerus fracture. So many a times if you are closely reducing it, there could be a chances nerve got entrapped inside it. So this is known as Holstein-Lewis. You can see this patient, I have done plating in during my residency time. This is humerus plating I have done by posterior approach by isolating the radial nerve. You can see this is the plating. Plate is over the bone and screws. The fracture is at this level. So you may ask there, sir, you have done plating, that is excellent, but the fracture is still there, na? So it will take time. The body will take approx 9 to 12 months to heal fracture in adults. Okay. Now next is fracture around elbow. What is 3-point bony relationship? So this is humerus. This is medial epicondyle. This is lateral epicondyle, and this is olecranon. Okay. So this is the olecranon. So this is the 3-point bony relationship. Okay. So if the fracture is above or below to the 3-point bony relationship, it will not get disrupted. Let's assume the fracture is supracondylar humerus fracture. So fracture at this level supracondylar humerus. नाम में ही लिखा है supracondylar. कॉन्डाइल के ऊपर, कॉन्डाइल के ऊपर फ्रैक्चर है तो 3-point bony relationship तो मेंटेन है ना, तो it is maintained. Now let's assume fracture is in lateral condyle of humerus. So fracture at this level, so it is going inside disrupting the 3-point bony relationship. Fracture could be at intercondylar level, fracture at this level, so it is also disrupting the 3-point bony relationship. Now let's assume what is lateral condyle of humerus fracture. So this is humerus lower part, this is lateral condyle fracture. Now the fracture will be like this. Fracture fragment like this. So you can see fracture fragment is displaced and it is the articular margin of elbow joint. So it is known as intra-articular fracture because fracture line is going intra-articular. Okay. ठीक है. Next is it is fracture of necessity. What is fracture of necessity? So you can see this is the fracture fragment. This is radius. No, this is ulna. This is ulna. This is radius. So you can see radius did not articulating with humerus because of fracture fragment. So elbow joint movement is restricting because the fracture is because of lateral condyle of humerus fracture. So that's why the fracture which goes in articular margin, which is intra-articular fracture, you have to fix those fracture. You have to fix those fracture by operative fixation. Okay, that's why fracture of necessity are those fracture. You cannot manage those fracture by conservative management. You have to do operative fixation in those patients. And we have mnemonic Pagal Monti ne Ola late kar di. So in Galegi fracture dislocation, in Monteggia fracture, these all fracture, you have to do operative fixation. Like in Monteggia fracture is proximal 1/3 ulna fracture along with radial head dislocation. So because radial head is dislocated in Monteggia fracture, so if you manage that patient conservatively, radial head will dislocated for lifetime. So because it is dislocated for lifetime, the movement at elbow joint will not happen. Okay. So patient will not have elbow joint movement during his lifetime. Same I have explained to you, lateral condyle humerus fracture, articular fracture. Okay. Now lateral condyle of humerus fracture में complication क्या है? Complication is it causes the cubitus valgus. So you can remember this L in lateral valgus, L is in lateral condyle and L is in valgus. Okay. And stiffness of elbow. Patient with present with tardy ulnar nerve palsy. Okay. Explain fracture of necessity. I have explained to you that in fracture of necessity you have to go for operative fixation. You cannot just apply a slab or cast. You have to go for operative fixation. Next is supracondylar humerus fracture. It is the most common fracture around the elbow. Now this is the supracondylar humerus fracture. So you can see proximal fragment is going anterior. So anterior there is only one vessel. Supracondylar का मतलब है condyle के ऊपर fracture है. At this level, this is the condyles in humerus and this is the fracture at this level. So you can see this is radius ulna, this is distal fragment of fractured fragment, this is proximal fragment. So you can see proximal fragment is going anterior. Because proximal fragment is going anterior, there is only one vessel which can be injured, that is brachial artery. So it is the most common vessel injury. Okay. Now next is nerve is anterior anterosis, most commonly injured. Next could be median, then radial, then ulnar. So the mnemonic is AMRU. Anterior anterosis, then median, then radial, then ulnar. Okay. The deformity, most common late complication is cubitus varus. And the Gartland classification is used. Okay. So what is Gartland classification? Type 1 is the fracture is undisplaced fracture in supracondylar humerus. Type 2 is posterior cortex is intact, but anterior cortex is separating. Okay, and type 3 is totally displaced. Okay, and you can see there is a extension type. It is the most common type of injury in Gartland. There are two type: extension type or flexion type. Okay, now the most common late complication is cubitus varus. You have learned that cubitus valgus is seen in lateral condyle of humerus fractures. Cubitus varus is seen in supracondylar humerus fracture. Okay. Now treatment. So treatment, because fracture is undisplaced, so you have to just apply a POP slab. And in case of displaced, then you have to fix those, reduce the fracture and fix it with K-wire. And cubitus varus patient will present with gun stalk deformity. Okay. Extension and flexion of flexion types depend on the distal fragment. If distal fragment is going anteriorly or posteriorly. Okay. So this is the supracondylar humerus fracture. It is very important. It can be asked in your final year of MBBS exam in orthopedics, or it is very important for NEET PG and ICT. Okay. Now the various complications. So I have explained you why it is brachial artery injury, why it is anterior anterosseous nerve. Next is compartment syndrome. अब compartment syndrome क्या होता है? Compartment syndrome, you can assume that it is tightness in entire the forearm. In forearm there are so many muscles. Okay, so many muscles. So because of supracondylar humerus fracture, it is causing the swelling. Okay, swelling increase the pressure, intercompartmental pressure. It increases the intercompartmental pressure. So in very few cases, it causes all the flexor group of muscle are affected by ischemia. Okay, the FDP is affected first, flexor digitorum profundus. It causes the ischemia, which leads to inflammation, then compression. Compression, which causes the necrosis, then fibrosis, and ultimately it leads to contracture. It is a complication of supracondylar humerus fracture. So in children, compartment syndrome is caused by supracondylar humerus fracture. In adult, it is caused by tibial diaphyseal fracture. Okay. So these are the complications. You can see this is the so many blisters, and there are 6 P's. 6 P's is pain on passive stretch, paralysis, pulselessness, paresthesia, pain on passive stress, pallor. Okay, so how will you manage this patient? I have explained you in compartment syndrome, there's a pressure greater than 30 mmHg. So how will you manage this patient? By doing fasciotomy, by releasing the pressure, by giving the S-shaped incision in forearm. Okay. Now the myositis ossificans. What is myositis ossificans? It is due to the massage. Heterotropic. It is also known as heterotropic ossificans. It is due to massage, and the most commonly muscle affected is brachialis muscle. Joint involved is elbow joint. And how will you manage this patient? By giving NSAID. Now the side swipe injury. So if someone is sitting in the car with the elbow outside the car window, and there could be a pillar which is going, and the car is going near to the pillar, and it may cause the side swipe injury. You can see this patient. This is the side swipe injury. Okay. Nursemaid elbow. So pulled elbow, it is also known as pulled elbow. You can see if you are pulling the children, this causes the nursemaid elbow. Okay. Now the age of ossification is crito. Capitulum is 1 year, then radial head, then medial epicondyle, then trochlea, olecranon, then lateral epicondyle. Okay. So we have learned about the clavicle, then shoulder joint, the fracture of arm, then fracture around the elbow. Now we are going forward to the fracture of radius ulna. So in fracture of radius ulna, it is the first is Gallagher fracture. So we have learned that it is a fracture of necessity. So it is distal one third of radius fracture along with DRUG disruption. So you can see this is distal 1/3 of radius fracture, and you can see this is the DRUG disruption. This is disruption of distal radio-ulnar joint. So that's why it is a fracture of necessity, because if you try to manage this patient by slab or cast, the DRUJ distal radio-ulnar joint will be dislocated for lifetime. It will hamper the movement at wrist joint. Okay, that's why it is a fracture of necessity. Okay, dorsal this is known as piano key sign, dorsal migration of ulna. This is how will you manage this patient? Or with plating, these all are my x-rays. I have done this in residency. So this is plating, radius plating. You can see by aligning those fracture fragment, and we have put this plate. Okay, so next is Knight stick fracture. So it is minimally displaced fracture of ulna. You can see this is a minimally displaced fracture. It is Knight stick fracture. Okay. किसी ने डंडा मार दिया, डंडा मारते हैं तो क्या करता है पेशेंट? ऐसे हाथ करता है उसको बचाने के लिए, तो अल्लाह रहती है यहाँ पे, अल्लाह रहती है तो फ्रैक्चर हो जाता है. दैट्स व्हाई इट इज नाइट स्टिक फ्रैक्चर. नाउ द टेरिबल ट्रायड ऑफ एल्बो. So terrible triad of elbow is known as race. What is race? Radial head fracture, coronoid fracture, and elbow dislocation. Now the Montegia fracture dislocation. It is proximal 1/3 of ulna fracture. along with radial head dislocation. Okay, the classification used is Bardo classification. Nerve injured is PIN. Treatment with by or plating. Why the PIN injured? You can ask me, sir, PIN क्यों, radial क्यों नहीं, median क्यों नहीं? You have to know. It is very, orthopedics is very simple. If you apply a basic logic, तो Montague में क्या होता है? Proximal 1/3 है अल्ना का फ्रैक्चर, है ना? तो यहाँ पे कौन सी नर्व जाती है? PIN जाती है. PIN जाती है तो वही इंजर्ड होगी. आपको अगर एनाटमी पता है, if you know the anatomy, you need not to just apply basic logic, you can solve any question. Now we have learned about the fracture in forearm. Let's move forward to fracture around elbow. So there are 4 types of fracture around distal radius. So distal radius is Colles fracture, Smith fracture, Barton fracture and Chopper fracture. Now what is Colles fracture? Colles fracture is X को कोड सेंड कर दिए. X को कोड सेंड का क्या मतलब है? X is for extra-articular fracture and extra-articular co is for Colles. So in Colles, distal fragment dorsally displaced. Okay. Next is Smith. S is for Smith and ventrally displaced. VENT is for ventrally displaced. So Colles and Smith is extra-articular fracture. In Colles, distal fragment is dorsally displaced. In Smith, distal fragment is ventrally displaced. Okay. Now we have intra-articular fracture. Intra-articular fracture is Barton fracture. बार में एंट्री करके बोर्ड का भी है. इसका क्या मतलब है? Barton is entry intra-articular fracture. बोर्ड का is it can be ventrally or dorsally. Both displaced. Next is Chopper. What is this Chopper? Chopper is for Chira. Chira is Chopper fracture. It is intra-articular fracture. It is radial styloid fracture. Okay. Now because in Colles dorsal displaced fragment is looking like a dinner fork. You can see this is a dorsally displaced fracture in Colles, so that it will form the dinner fork. If you did not reduce the Colles fracture and apply slab or cast, then the patient will present with dinner fork deformity. And Smith में क्या होता है? It is just opposite to the Colles, so patient will present the garden split deformity. Now the most common, the carpal bone fracture is scaphoid. Okay, patient will present with pain in the anatomical snub box. Okay, patient will present with and the scapular dislocation. It is known as Terry-Thomas sign. You can see this. Most common dislocation is lunate. Most common bone fracture is carpal scaphoid. So in carpals, the proximal pole has less blood supply, so more likely to develop AVN. This is the scaphoid bone. The blood supply this is the proximal part. This is the distal part. The blood supply is going to this way. So proximal is less likely to be supplied. So if it is fracture, it is most likely to go in avascular necrosis. Patient with you have to manage this patient by glass holding cast. If it is undisplaced fracture, if it is displaced, then you have to fix by Harvard screw.